You want to host a taco night, but where do you start? How do you feed a whole group of people for cheap? Going to a place like Azteca or Fajita Grill is great and all, but it gets a little pricey when you're trying to feed a crowd. And Taco Bell may be cheap, but what if you're craving something a little more real? That's where I come in. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a whole batch of fantastic tacos, all for about 15 bucks. So go wash up and get ready to eat, because you're watching Dom's Dinner Bell. So today we're going to be making ground beef tacos with pico de gallo. Now, this is a very simple recipe. What we're going to start out with is, of course, your ground beef. Mine was already frozen in my freezer, but a pound of this stuff is going to cost you about $4.48 at Walmart. Again, protein will almost always be the most expensive part of your dish. What you need is 1 packet of taco mix seasoning. This stuff is 42 cents. At Walmart. You can get a 1 pack of these, you can get a bottle of this stuff for about 5 bucks. Either way, we're going to use this whole packet in the meal today. Aside from the taco seasoning, you're going to need a head of lettuce. This costs you about $1.68 at Walmart as well, trying to keep it cheap. This is iceberg lettuce. If you want to use romaine, you're more than welcome, but when it's all in on top of stuff, this is what you want. You're going to need flour tortillas. I am much more of a corn tortilla guy myself, but this pack ran me about $3.24 at Walmart. It's good, solid quality. They get 20 tortillas per package. With those, you also need a tomato for the pico de gallo. You need a jalapeno for the pico de gallo. And the tomatoes cost me about 42 cents a pound, so this little guy only cost me about 30-something cents. This jalapeno came in a big pack of 12 for $1.28. You need 1 white onion. The white onion ran me about 95 cents at Walmart. And you're going to need 2 limes for the pico de gallo. The 2 limes here only cost me 48 cents a piece, coming out to 96 cents total. And you, of course, need your bushel of cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, you can exclude this step entirely, but these are all the ingredients we need. And of course, finally, to finish it all off, a bag of Fiesta Blend shredded cheese from Walmart is about $2.22. Grand total about $15.93. Like we covered in the first episode of Dom's Dinner Bell, we're gonna brown the ground beef. All you gotta do with that is get yourself a nice hot pan. You take your ground beef, open up the bag, and just plop it right onto the pan. And look at that. I've gotten it all over the place like the fool that I am. So now that I've got to get it nice and spread out in the pan, you got to get as much surface area on there as you can so you don't have any raw ground beef in the middle of it. That gets to be a bit messy. Here, don't be shy. Come close. Come close. Vinica. Right here, we're just getting it all set up, and if you remember from the first episode, you just got to try and cover as much of the pan as you can with, the meat, so that everything browns evenly and everything renders out. I can't remember, I think this is 85-25, wow, 85-15. Shows you I'm a broadcaster. I can't do math all that well. But, it's 85% lean to 15% fat, so the blend here is 85% meat and only 15% fat. It's better if you want more flavorful meat. It gives it a little bit more substance. It'll render out a lot of it, but that doesn't matter. What you're looking for is flavor. And this kind of stuff, best for burgers, tacos, anything like that. So now that we've got this set up and the meat itself is heating up, I touched raw meat, so I'm going to wash my hands quick. What we're going to do while the ground beef is heating up on the stove and is browning, we are going to start prepping the pico de gallo. Your first step is to take your big old head of lettuce here. You see how it's got all that nasty dirt and old spots and stuff like that on it? We wash our lettuce. You take these big leaves off first here. These don't matter much. They're beat up. They're, dirty. They're gross. So you throw those aside and you take off this core piece here because it's not all that tasty. You see all these TikTok videos, they slam the thing down. It doesn't work. That doesn't work. Don't do that. So we're going to take the core, cut inward, a little bit of a diamond pattern here, and you just take out the core that way, because you don't want that. It's hard. Here, I'll get it closer to the mic. You don't want that. That's gross. So now what we do is, you can see all that dirt there. You don't want any of that either. Go over to the sink, turn on the cool water, and wash the lettuce. You can bring it over here, and you're not going to use the whole head of lettuce unless you're cooking a lot of ground beef. So what we're going to do is cut it right down the middle. You've got one bit of lettuce there, and you've got another bit of lettuce here, and now what you want to do with it is ribbon it. You want to get as thin little slices as you can, because you don't want, big salad-like chunks on your tacos, because then you're just biting into a taco salad wrapped in a tortilla. And if you want even thinner slices than that, grab the big pile you just made, cut it right in half. So then what we do with that, take it off, and you put it in a bowl, and you set aside for when you assemble your tacos. So, got it in a nice bowl there. You can dry it off if you'd like. I guess I was just lazy and skipped that step, but we can put that aside now. So what is pico de gallo? I'm glad you asked. Pico de gallo, often referred to as salsa refresca, is a pretty simple put together of just a few ingredients. All you need is a tomato, a jalapeno, an onion, and some lime. It's a light, refreshing way to put a little extra crunch on your taco. It brings some really good flavors in there, especially with the cilantro and the lime in there. Gives it a little bit of zestiness, and it's one of my favorite toppings to put on tacos. If you're more of a guac fan, make guac. Guacamole, avocados only cost, I think, 68 cents at Walmart, but my favorite's pico de gallo, no two ways about it. So what we start with first is the tomato, and we're going to put it in this little thing here. So for tomato time, you take the little tomato here, and you cut the top right off. You don't need that guy. Then what we're going to do is cut our tomato right in half, because from there, we're going to cut little pieces, a little bit thicker. Yeah, it's more like it. Just kind of bigger chunks there, so that what you can do now, after you've got it cut lengthwise, you can go right across the whole thing, get little chunks of tomato in there. There you go. That's where you get your big tomato chunks. Now, this is where the... Ooh, I thought I was going to lose them there. What you can do is, those chunks are a little big for my liking. So you can take the tomato again, cut it in half one more time, and then you cut it down that way. So you've got a nice thin slice there. So what you're going to do at that point is then cut right across the tomato. And you've got smaller chunks this time around. So you can load those in there. Cut this piece, that piece, this one, and that one. Now, if you don't like these tomato guts here, this nasty stuff in there, it doesn't taste good. It's kind of got a weird texture. All you got to do, and now that my hands are slippery, let's see if I can do it, is cut around the rind. And I will, I almost just cut my hand there. And there it falls out. So you've only got a little bit of that stuff left. You can scrape that out as well if you don't want any of that stuff. Push it to the side with your knife, and then do the same process. So now that you've got the tomato all chopped up, what's up next for the pico is the jalapeno. This is the green part of the pico de gallo. And the jalapeno, where all of the heat sits, the capsaicin, is in the seeds. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it and chop it down the middle lengthwise so we can get to those seeds. Now this is where, maybe do as I say, not as I do. You're going to try and cut the seeds out of the jalapeno. You got to get that, just like with the bell peppers, you got to get that membrane out of there. Try and scrape it down a little bit. And this is me causing problems for myself. So if you find yourself struggling in the kitchen, find a different utensil. This is a big knife with a very sharp edge. So maybe it's within our best interest to use a paring knife. This is a small little guy. Now, if all you have is a big knife, you can use a spoon to scrape this stuff out as well. But if you want to get into the nitty-gritty there, just scrape it out with the paring knife, And that way you're not risking your fingers, you're not risking a hospital trip, because as much fun as cooking is, it's best not to bleed on your food. We cut those thin little slices again. And a bit of a big chunk, that doesn't matter. Now, you can, if you want, mince your jalapeno. I prefer having the chunks of jalapeno in my pico de gallo, but that's just me. If you would prefer to mince it, go ahead and mince it. That is up to you. So we're going to take those jalapenos and dump them right in there with the tomatoes. Now, we're not going to stir anything yet because there's still a lot to do. But of course, we clean as we cook. We've worked a little bit with our paring knife. We can go right back to our big boy here for the onion. Now the onion, like we have covered as well on Dom's Dinner Bell, we're going to dice. And I'm going to dice it the same way that I diced it on the, what did I make? The stuffed peppers. That's it, that's it. Goes to show you how good 12 years of football does to my memory. And since this is quite the onion, we're gonna cut this big guy in half, right down the middle there, put this side aside, and like I had demonstrated in the first episode, we're going to take this, now this is a much bigger onion than the one I worked with on the first episode, so we're going to take the slices down here and up here, down here and up here, because that'll give us a bunch of tiny little onion pieces, and we're not spending, you know, a month of Sundays trying to dice it. So with all of that onion sliced and diced, we're going to take a big chunk of it and we're going to put it on the table and in the pico de gallo. Now that you've got the onions done, we're going to move on to the cilantro. So what we're going to do is, see all those big old leaves? We're going to chop it right there, and then we mince again. Gather it up into a big ball, because herbs are kind of a pain to cut individually. And you're just going to start to chop them that way. And once you've got a nice even chop going, we mince again. After you've chopped a nice big amount there, that's a good amount of cilantro, you get it on your knife, and you put it in there, and we can even do a little bit of a pinch more in there. I'm a big cilantro guy. We're going to move on to the limes. Now, with the limes, you want to get the most juice out of these limes as you can. There's a couple of different ways to do that. You can let them sit around and get to room temperature. You can even microwave limes, and it gets some of the more juice out of the pulpy bits. But what I like to do is you take the lime, you put it on the counter, and using the palm of your hand, you put a little pressure, and you roll back and forth. This loosens up as much juice as you can get out of the lime. And then what you're going to do is you can take your big old knife here, cut the thing right in half, and all you do, turn over and squeeze as hard as you can. Now that you've got all this stuff in the pico de gallo, all you need to add is some salt and some pepper. There we go. Now what you can do from there, take a spoon and you mix it around. Now that your pico de gallo is set, you can leave the spoon right in there, set it aside with the lettuce, and we can move on to seasoning the beef. Stay tuned, folks. We're building tacos here on Dom's Dinner Bell. Stay tuned, stay hungry.
We're here for you, we're here for you. This is your channel too. With sports and news and what to do, we're here for you. It's your TV, you're watching WTLP. Your TV, thanks for watching WTLP.
So, after you've got your ground beef browned and drained, what you're going to do is put it back in your pan, set it on the burner. Go on, come on. And then you take your taco seasoning packet here, open it up, and pour it all over your taco meat. It's gonna seem like a lot, but it's because what we do next is after you've got the seasoning on the meat, we take a 1/4 cup of water, and I'm using a liquid measuring cup this time, and you're gonna pour it all over the meat. We're gonna stir it all together, get the seasonings and the flavors and everything to get to know the beef a little bit. And now, of course, the water I used was, fridge cold. What we're going to do is let this simmer. You're gonna want the water to cook out almost completely from the meat once you got it all stirred together, because you don't want pockets of seasoning. You want it all to be one homogeneous mixture. Is that the right science term? Homogeneous? All right. You see, like right here on this little bit of meat, you see all that red stuff in there. You see all that seasoning. That's great. You don't want that. You want it all nice and mixed together, evenly spread out, and then you just let it go. You let it do its thing. You stir every now and again, and I will do that when I am prepping the tortillas next. So once you've got that on about medium heat, you're gonna let it come to a simmer, stir it every now and again so it doesn't burn and stick to the bottom. But now, what is, I think, my favorite part of taco night is scorching the tacos, or scorching the tortillas. And we're not burning them, we're getting them warm. We're getting them ready to be served, because cold flour tortillas are fine. But if you give them a little heat, you give them a little bit of a brown bit on the edge of them, they're gonna be amazing. So what you do is turn your oven on low. So now that you've got your beef a-bubbling, like I said, stir every now and again, make sure those flavors get to know each other. We are currently waiting for our tortilla-sized pan to get ripping hot. You want this like wicked hot for what we're about to do. And I'm gonna take a good number there. We might not do all of them, but what we do is it's completely dry pan. You're not gonna oil this, you're not gonna spray it, you're not gonna do anything to this pan. You're just gonna let it get wicked, wicked hot. And you know it's wicked, wicked hot when you put the back of your hand up to it and you feel that it's wicked, wicked hot. You'll know. If your stove is really, really hot, if your high is like super high, maybe put it at a 9 or an 8, keep it to what you know your stove will do. Because I know this stove, when I do this to tortillas, it's gotta be hot, And after we scorch a tortilla, I don't think that's the actual name for it, but you can see on a flour tortilla, it's already got, the brown cooked bits and everything. That's great, that's how a tortilla is made, that's wonderful. But when this thing gets absolutely ripping hot, you slam it down onto the pan, and you just let it cook for a second. Now, with corn tortillas, you see them bubble up. These won't bubble up, because a corn tortilla, it'll inflate like a pita, and then once you take it off, you can slam it back down. But after just a little while, there's some bits there, but you can see that it's nice and warm. It's starting to develop a bit more of a crust, so you throw it down on the other side. And you can smell that the pan is very, very hot. It smells like it's burning. I promise you it's not burning. If you don't want to use your hands, use tongs, use a fork, whatever you want to use. I'm just accustomed to doing that. You just want them nice, warm, and soft. And that's the other thing. What we're going to do after we've got it nice and hot and warm and soft, you just drop it onto a sheet of tin foil. And what we are going to do is cook them seconds at a time. These do not need to stay on the stove for very long at all. They've just got to get a little bit of heat in them, a little bit of color on them, and then you take them off and you wrap them in tin foil, and until your meat's done, you keep them warm in that low oven. So that one, nice bit of color right there. Yeah, see, now we're cooking with gas. And you see it, there's just a little bit of bubbling happening on this one, you see? I push it down a little bit there. That's good stuff. And yeah. Right there, nice bit charred. As Jim Carrey's The Mask would say, smoking! I used to love that movie as a kid. But anyway, back to food. Again, you let it go for just a few seconds, 30 seconds tops, and you're able to get a nice color on the tortilla. It's warm, pull it up, boom, look at that. See, now it's to the point where this pan is hot enough that it is only about 30 seconds per tortilla. Let it move a little bit, let it get bubbly, take it up, look at that, pow. Next one, bam. And you can run this like an assembly line. If you're holding a taco night and it's a bunch of friends over, you can have them help you, you know? Employ your friends. It's normal. That's what I'm doing right now. I think that's what I've done for this entire show. Now, that's the other thing. You don't want to let them go too long. You don't want them to burn. A burned tortilla is a sad tortilla, but a nicely browned tortilla is something of wonder. This is a completely optional step as well. You don't have to do this. You can heat up your tortillas in the microwave. You can heat them up in a low oven. You can have them cold. I don't care. That's up to you. It's personal preference. I like to heat them up in the pan. Gives them a little bit of texture, a little bit of color. See it bubble up a little bit. There we go. A little hot. And don't let the smoke bother you. I learned from my mistake. I already have the fan set up on my smoke alarm, so that's not happening again. But with this going, you know, pull it up, let it go. See, this one I let go a little long because I was being a smart aleck into the camera. That's my fault. Things happen. Stir the beef a little bit. See how it's starting to pull away? That's what you want. You want all that water to dissipate. And this one, I did burn. See what I did? I'm not paying attention. So that'll be mine. I make mistakes so you learn from them. That's what the kitchen's all about. I think, thank you, thanks. That one, up, down, there we go. I think we can even turn this down a little bit because it is ripping hot. But after you've got these all nice and warm and charred up a little bit accidentally, you take them, you wrap them in the tin foil as best as you can because the oven's low. It's not gonna bake them. It'll just keep them warm. Wrap it up. Take your tortilla pocket, toss it on that first burner, you're good to go. Turn off your heat. You do not want to keep, look at that. Look at how hot that is. You do not want to put your hand or any other thing on that because it will burst into flame. That is how problems occur in the kitchen, and that is when you need a smoke alarm. But now that we have the tortillas warming, the meat is almost done, it is almost time to plate up. Now, another thing with the meat is you see, you know, there's a bit of grease, you know, coming out there. You know, it's kind of a greasy taco meat. That is user error. Do not blame the packet. Do not blame the manufacturer. I don't think I drained these long enough. I was too excited to get the taco meat going. And you know me, I get so excited for food. It's what happens. So I'm gonna let this go a little bit longer. There's still too much sauce in there for my liking. So you let that cook down as much as you can. You really just want seasoned beef by the end of this. You don't want a slop. Like taco day at school when you were in high school. You know, they would put down the meat on your tray and it was gloopy. You know, it was like that kind of mess on your tray. You don't need to do that. If you like it that way, I mean, that's up to you. I personally don't. I like it when it's meaty, not soupy. So you let this stuff cook down as best you can. So, this is the lovely man behind the camera for this episode, Garrett Chan.
Hey.
Thank you so much for helping me out.
Of course.
Of course. Well, and so now that we have all of the components done, the beef is nice and seasoned and simmered down. Lettuce is cut. Pico is made. Tortillas are warm. I have one more whammy ingredient for you. You ready for this one?
What is it?
If you do like Taco Bell, save your leftover sauces. We've got I've got Fire and Diablo sauce left over because I'm a big spice guy.
Yeah.
If you're not a big fan of those, I apologize. I think I have Frank's Red Hot in the fridge. But if you'd love to go to Taco Bell, always get extra sauces. You can use these on taco nights. It brings you that Taco Bell flavor with way more fresh ingredients. And it's the best way to do it. Are you ready to eat, Garrett?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So go ahead, grab your tortilla.
All right.
Now, the way I like to do tortillas is meat first, then cheese, then lettuce, then pico, then sauce.
That's the right way to go.
It's just the only way to go.
Only way to go.
Exactly. Well, because then the cheese gets melty on top of the beef, and that's just how I like to do it. So you start here, get a big old spoon. Well, it's not really all that big, but you get a nice spoonful of meat. Get that. Yeah. These are small tortillas, too, so you don't want to overload it. The cheese here. Open that up. Put a bit of that cheese on there.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah. That's good stuff. I mean, if you want to load that more of that cheese up on there, on your taco, by all means. Take the lettuce, get a little bit of a pinch here. You do lay that on top. I can do a little bit more than that. There we go. And then, of course, the ever lovely pico de gallo. Nice and spicy, nice and cilantro-y.
I'm going to follow just the same procedure.
I was just eating lettuce in his mic. That's a good idea.
This looks fantastic. Get some of that nice cheese over here. Fiesta blend.
Best stuff. They sell this stuff called taco cheese. It's got taco seasoning on it.
Interesting.
I've tried it. It's gross.
It's gross?
It's so bad.
Oh, really?
It just tastes weird. It's like cheese doesn't need taco seasoning on it. The tacos already have taco seasoning.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's right. And especially when you add the taco seasoning to the meat.
It's exactly what I mean. Why does it need to be on the cheese? What is the point of that? What is the point?
Oh my gosh.
Garrett, putting the pico de gallo on top of the taco now. I'm doing play-by-play.
Ah, yes. I was like, am I doing something wrong?
Nope.
All right.
Nice dollop there. Great scoop. What a play by Garrett. Gets ready, and he goes for the fire Taco Bell sauce. Attaboy. Oh, he changes his mind. He goes for the Diablo.
And done.
And done. Show that to the camera right there. And done.
Double dare you.
What did mine say? Oh, no introduction needed.
Very nice.
Oh, yeah. And done. I like that. That's perfect.
Oh. Simple, straight to the point.
Exactly. Garrett, you ready to try these tacos?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's dive right in. Look at that.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Already halfway through my mouth.
That's fantastic.
See, the fresh pico de gallo makes all the difference in there.
With so much flavor.
Yeah.
You get the sour of the lime, the sweetness of the tomatoes, the spice of the jalapenos, and the meat.
The seasoned meat. Oh, yeah. That's good stuff. So, with that, thank you, Garrett. And thank you for watching Dom's Dinner Bell. All for about $15, you're able to make yourself quite a delicious taco night. Is that gonna seal of approval?
It does.
Stay tuned and stay hungry, folks. Who knows what we're gonna cook next episode?